really fascinating presentations. You can hear me? Yes?
Yes.
I had, I don't want to take too much time, because I think many people will have questions. But so I'm just going to ask a question to Matteo. It's more of a comment, really, which is that in some previous research that I did on women workers in World War I and interwar France, I came across really interesting police files after a massive, truly massive strike of women ammunition workers. 42,000 women took over the streets of Paris in 1917. And the files for questioning these women, it was almost an exclusively female movement. So the ringleaders of the movement, the women who were identified as ringleaders, were brought in for questioning, and they weren't asked about their politics. When they were people in the neighborhood or people who worked with them had to give testimony about their moral behavior. And if they were seen as in any way engaged in debauchery, that was understood as part of a kind of predisposition to what they called exalté, hot-headedness. So the idea was that they would be not only not revolutionary, but rather just impossible to manage. And so I think this whole question of using these these criteria around the sexual straight-lacedness or otherwise of women in this period is very interesting. Gives you very interesting insights into how people understand what motivates women to act. Maybe this is only true in Catholic countries, I don't know, but I was really struck by it. And when they rounded up there were very few male participants in the movement, needless to say, they were never asked about whether they were catting around. So it's a comment on that question.
Yes, of course, I have no time today to speak about protest and about strikes in the office after World War I. The point is the authority, when they talk about office workers, have another idea of they have the idea of that the women are obedient, and they respect the head of the office. When something happens in the office, they immediately put out the women, because it was not for a moral question. And it's not a political question, it's a moral question, because in the office, they are a boss, head of the office, can be women or men, depends in which office, and they don't want trouble in the office. If there are trouble in the office, something happens to the women. And when there are protests, they use this, they give more money to the people that don't make strike.
Yes.
To say, okay, you did your job during the strike, and this is like more money for you, and please, so don't participate to the strike that make in other parts of the city. Because after World War I, Trieste was really a trouble mass and strikes everywhere. So, and this change, of course, also with fascism and so on. So it's a quite complicated question. And of course, but the idea of the Italian authorities that obedient women work in the office.
Thank you very much for your very interesting paper. I have a question for Tullia. I'd like to know, yes, you have told us that there are still many documents to study and so on, but can it be estimated the percentage of transition of female employees from the AMG administration to the Italian administration or Italian offices? Which was nearly, I don't know if you know, if you have the data.
I don't have precise data because I have long list of names, but not for all the departments. This is the problem. But just making a check into the department, there are departments like school where we found more women after, but other like finance and so on where women are less. So I think we have still to work about it, because the files are really a big mess, I can say. So you can find one there. So it's, but thanks also to some letter of pleas that we spoke. There were a lot of women who were cut off and were fired after, and they had a lot of difficulties to enter again in the labor market. Yes, in the labor market of the administration, because they were indicating that role, because that role has a status here, connected to consumers, connected to the modernity. I didn't speak about it, but it was all really strictly connected.
Thank you very much.
I have a question to Tullia. You mentioned refugees, and I wanted to ask you whether refugees, I mean the different categories of refugees, had the right to work, and if so, if it changed over the years.
I continue here. Thank you very much for all the papers, because I have also one question about refugees, especially Yugoslav refugees in this area, and in which way also you find the influence of the Cold War policy in the chronology of the entrance of refugee in the local labor market, because I think of the group of Slovene refugees, conservative or special conservative oriented, but also near the collaboration circles in Slovenia. These people arrived in the refugee camps in Friuli, and then slowly entered in the Slovene school system, and also in other institutions. And naturally for this entrance was fundamental the support, especially of American authorities.
So, first of all, I didn't deal with the question of the refugees because it's really a big question. I preferred to, but I dealt with the question years ago when I dealt with the question of welfare construction here in Trieste. But my memory is getting older, and so I don't. But in this time, I worked in the States Archive. I found lists of Yugoslavia, they said so, and I didn't know either the names sometimes of these people, but they are called Yugoslavian refugees. I have their professionality, and many of them are sent to United Kingdom, for instance, especially female, like servants, in the public offices. This I found. And before, because, okay, I didn't follow all the lines because I opened Pandora lanes, I think, with this research. And, but what I have understood that also among the refugees there were a strong differentiation made by the allies. These were reliable people who they can trust in. In fact, people who flew through and where they had a 2 years green card, if I can call so. To have the data you are asking me, then I arrive to Marta's question, but Francesca. I think we have to combine the sources, social assistance, welfare, so there is an assistance department where you find a lot of information of Kellet, they were under Kellet, Major Kellet, about the refugees and about the destiny of the refugees coming from the Yugoslavia area especially. But the material are there, and a lot of this material I found in Kew Gardens archives, where there are a lot of files about refugees here in Trieste. These are others also refugees. And there are not only Yugoslavian, of course, and there are Polish, and there are coming from all East Europe, I found. But before they have, Jews have no problem. They were treated in an apart. You know, there was also a sector for Jewish displaced persons, like in the whole of Italy and the whole of Europe at the time. Because after the first period where Jews, displaced persons, and other refugee displaced persons were together, they decided to divide them because there were problems that you could live near your murderers, you understand? The murder of your family, for instance, as happened here in the Riviera of San Saba, as we know. So they were divided. And for Jewish displaced persons coming from Yugoslavia, coming from Poland and so on, they have a peculiar way, an escape way. The Allied were very, very supportive with them, and they had them. Then we have all the questions that Marta arose before, and I found a lot of teachers. They are citizenship Yugoslavian is written. I didn't go deeper, of course, there were a lot of women, but also male. And they were all fired when Italy came here. And I found a lot of materials, documents about this question. So I think, so this is the reason why I said that here, after, in the transition period, citizenship is a big question to deal with. And also, of course, anti-Slavism of the Italian Republic that we have never to forget. I don't know if
maybe I can answer to Francesca's question. So from a technical point of view, anyone could get registered in the office labor of the EMG if had a residence in Trieste. So to apply for a job, it wasn't important to have a citizenship. It was important to have a residence in the zone A of the EMG. For this reason, considering that, for example, Trieste was an extremely important hub of immigration. So we have a lot of refugees, immigrants, economic immigrants that were, then later forwarded overseas. We can't reach the number here in February 47 of 37 units without considering immigration into a city. So, for example, without considering in this case long distance immigrants like Polish, etc. But for example, a person coming from the zone B could apply for a job in the zone A, but he has to demonstrate to have a residence in the zone A.
So thank you all for your interesting presentation. And I have a question from Matteo.